Before diving into this story, hit that like button, drop a comment below, and subscribe, because here, every story is a new emotion you won't want to miss. He lost everything: his name, his face, his memories, but not the music. Every note he plays is a whisper from a past that won't let go. And her, a lonely composer, about to find the most important song of her life. What happens when love hides between forgotten chords? Benjamin was a young, promising pianist until a sudden accident wiped away his memories. No past, no future to hold on to. But the music, that never left him. In the sterile silence of a hospital room, the only thing alive was the faint echo of piano keys in his mind. His fingers instinctively found melodies, though his heart felt lost in shadows. Outside, the city moved on, unaware of the man who had forgotten himself. Yet, deep inside, a silent song waited to be heard again. One rainy afternoon, Clara, an almost unknown composer, wandered through a park, carrying her sketchbook filled with unfinished tunes. She heard a fragile melody floating through the damp air, Benjamin's music, incomplete yet brimming with raw emotion. Drawn like a moth to a flame, Clara watched him play, captivated by the ghost of a life buried beneath his notes. Something inside her stirred, a mix of empathy and curiosity that she couldn't ignore. Determined, she decided to help him by writing songs that echoed the fragments of his forgotten soul. In her small, cluttered studio, surrounded by scattered sheets and soft lamplight, Clara began to compose. Each note she penned was inspired by the flickers of feeling she sensed in Benjamin's music. It was as if his lost memories whispered to her through the keys, begging to be pieced back together. Their worlds, once strangers, started weaving a delicate bond made of sound and silence. Unknowingly, they were about to rewrite not just a melody, but their own destinies. Clara handed Benjamin the first new composition, a light, nostalgic melody that floated gently like a breeze through autumn leaves. As his fingers traced the keys, a shy smile flickered across his lips, softening the shadows in his eyes. The music stirred something deep inside him, a vague warmth wrapped in forgotten laughter. Suddenly, a flashback broke through. A young Benjamin sitting by an old piano, his father guiding his small hands with patient love. The faint image of his father's smile lingered, fragile but real, like a memory fighting to be seen. Encouraged by that spark, Clara wrote a second song, romantic and bittersweet, filled with hope tangled in sorrow. She watched Benjamin as he played, noticing the way his expression shifted, a pain mingled with longing creeping over his features. This melody awakened a memory of love, a face he couldn't quite place, a tender touch slipping through the mist of his mind. A flashback showed Benjamin and a woman smiling in a sunlit park, their hands almost touching, their hearts silently reaching. Clara's own chest tightened. The music held secrets neither of them yet understood. Days melted into nights as Benjamin and Clara spent hours together, him playing, her composing, laughter threading between their stories. The music became their invisible thread, weaving their souls closer with each shared moment. They sensed there was something beyond the notes, a quiet connection blossoming in the spaces between chords. When their eyes met, a new tension hummed in the air, soft, electric, unspoken. Slowly, their worlds began to merge in a dance of melody and emotion, fragile but undeniable. Then Clara hesitated, her pen trembling as she wrote a third song, darker, more intense, pulsing with raw emotion and unresolved conflict. The melody crashed like waves, carrying Benjamin to flashes of a past he couldn't grasp but felt with aching clarity. He saw moments of laughter shadowed by tears, hands once intertwined, now trembling apart. A shared life erased by time and tragedy surfaced like a ghost between the notes. The flashback grew vivid, him and Clara, promises whispered under rain, a heartbreak carved in silence. Each new song peeled back layers of Benjamin's forgotten life, painting vivid scenes from a past buried deep beneath the wreckage of his mind. Memories arrived as fragile images, sunlit rooms, whispered names, touches frozen in time. With every melody Clara composed, Benjamin felt himself reclaiming pieces of who he was, one note at a time. Their bond strengthened, grounded not just in music, but in the unspoken understanding of loss and hope. The music was no longer just sound, it was a bridge across the void. In one quiet moment, Benjamin confessed the haunting feeling that sometimes the melodies made him remember emotions more than facts like love, fear, and regret hiding behind invisible walls. Clara nodded, sharing her own loneliness that had driven her to pour heart and soul into her compositions. Together, they realized the music was their language, a way to reach where words failed. The fragile trust between them grew, and so did the unspoken promise to uncover the truth, no matter how painful. Their days were filled with laughter and small victories, but also shadows of uncertainty. Clara worried if the memories they stirred would be a blessing or a curse for Benjamin. Yet neither could stop the pull of the music, the final notes yet unwritten, waiting for the moment to heal or break them both. As Benjamin's hands danced across the keys, Clara felt her own heart compose a song of courage, weaving light into their shared darkness. It was becoming clear their journey was about more than just recovery. It was about rebirth. One evening, as the rain whispered against the studio window, Benjamin played a melody so hauntingly beautiful that even Clara's breath caught. It was the fourth song, a mix of sorrow and hope that seemed to echo the deepest corners of his soul. In that moment, fragments of a shared past flashed before their eyes, a love that had been erased but never truly lost. Tears welled in Clara's eyes as she realized the music wasn't just Benjamin's story. It was theirs. They had been connected long before their paths crossed again. As the weeks passed, the music grew richer, layered with a complexity of emotions they both tried to face. Clara's compositions became not just reminders but declarations, a way to reclaim the love and life stolen from Benjamin. Their relationship deepened, fragile yet fearless, built on melodies that told stories no one else could hear. Every note was a step closer to the truth, to forgiveness, and to a future neither dared to dream of alone. The piano was no longer a place of loss, but a sanctuary for new beginnings. Finally, Clara composed the last piece, the song that would either bring Benjamin's memories fully back or let them go forever. It was a melody of rebirth, full of light and promise, a final chapter written in hope. As Benjamin played, the fragments of his past and their shared story merged, transforming pain into beauty. The music lifted them both beyond their scars into a new dawn. Their journey through forgotten chords had led them here ready to write their next song together, with hearts finally whole. Benjamin sat at the piano, his hands hovering above the keys, trembling. He turned to Clara, eyes searching, voice low and broken. Why do I feel like I've known you all my life? Why does this melody feel like it's telling my story? Clara's eyes shimmered, unable to hide the storm within her anymore. The truth she had buried under harmonies now begged to be sung. Clara stepped forward, her voice barely above a whisper. Because it is your story, Benjamin. Before the accident, before the silence, you and I, we were everything. She paused, letting the weight of her words settle. We loved, we dreamed ... and then life tore us apart. But I couldn't let you disappear, so I turned our story into music. His breath caught. Flashes of her smiling, crying, running through the rain with him, rushed through his mind like waves crashing through a dam. Each note they had played, every melody Clara had written, were fragments of their love scattered in time. He clutched the edge of the piano, struggling between disbelief and the overwhelming desire to believe. And in the space between heartbeats, he knew his soul had always remembered. Clara moved closer, tears now freely falling. I waited, Benjamin. When they told me you might never remember, I waited anyway. I thought maybe if I told you, it would scare you. So I let the music speak instead. Her hands reached for his, trembling, unsure. "But I never stopped loving you. Not for a single second." He pulled her into his arms, holding her as if anchoring himself to something finally real. Around them, the music soared a symphony born of love, loss, and rediscovery. Their embrace was tight, soaked in tears, but full of light. Every note that had once haunted Benjamin now wrapped around them like a homecoming. And in that moment, they didn't need words. The melody said it all. The song played on, rising like a tide as memories stitched themselves back into place. Their past no longer lived in fragments, but as a whole. They had journeyed through silence, through forgotten chords and quiet pain, only to find their hearts still played the same rhythm. In the middle of that small studio, under flickering light and echoing music, Benjamin and Clara found what many never do, a second chance at first love. And this time, they wouldn't let go. Benjamin sat at the grand piano, bathed in soft golden light, Clara beside him. His fingers met the keys with a reverence he had never known before. This wasn't just music, it was memory, love, forgiveness. Each note of Clara's final composition was a heartbeat, a whisper of healing. Together, they played not to remember the past, but to live fully in the now. Clara closed her eyes as Benjamin played, letting the melody flow through her. It was the song she wrote for their rebirth, a music that didn't chase what was lost, but celebrated what remained. No pain, no fear, just them and the sound of love made whole. Tears streamed down her face, not of sorrow, but of homecoming. She reached for his hand mid-song, and he didn't let go. The studio around them faded into silence as the last note rang like a promise in the air. They sat still, fingers still touching, breath still held, hearts wildly alive. And then Benjamin turned to Clara, not with a question, but with certainty. This is where we begin." She smiled through her tears. It always was. The music had brought them back, but it was love that would keep them there. Not the version shaped by memory, but the one they chose each day imperfect, real, uncheckable. In a world that once forgot them, they chose to remember each other. With every sunrise, with every note, and now they would never play alone again. In that final song, there was no past, no future, only now. A now made of forgiveness, of hands clasped in quiet understanding. Of the kind of love that doesn't just survive, but revives. Because when hearts find their true rhythm, even silence sings. And in their melody, they found themselves. Sometimes life has to strip everything away just to show us what truly matters. The love we try to forget, the music that never leaves. Not all scars are visible, not all stories are loud, but the soul always remembers. And there is always one last song to begin again. As the screen fades to black, a single piano note lingers soft, certain, eternal. The words appear, a ultima canto to Benjamin. And below it, sometimes healing sounds like a whisper, sometimes like a song. Clara leans her head on Benjamin's shoulder, and together they listen to the quiet, for it finally feels like peace. If this story touched your heart, don't keep it to yourself. Hit that like button, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and drop a comment below. Your words might inspire the next story. And hey, if you felt something real today, consider subscribing. We're building a community where stories heal, connect, and change lives. One video at a time.